throughout my entire time playing World of Warcraft, I've played basically nothing but warrior in both retail and in classic. Charging into your enemies and yelling directly into their face is awesome. Of course, I've explored other classes as well, like recently I leveled a mage, and yeah, it was fun exploring all the different farms and stuff, but it's just not really me. And even more recently, I started playing a druid, and I can't lie, it's some of the most fun I've ever had in WoW. The idea of being able to transform into a bear or a cat and just claw your enemies until they bleed to death is about as cool as you can get, and I might honestly consider changing my main character. Last time we grinded through many zones, Paralis, Tanaris, Searing Gorge, and even Ungoro Crater, until we were high enough level to equip the Hand of Justice trinket, one of the absolute best pieces of gear I could get, which I managed to obtain by farming it with my mage after only 3 tries, which is the second time that's happened to me now. And after grinding for hours and hours, today is the day, because our goal is to reach level 60, the maximum level in World of Warcraft Classic. To start the day off, we were in Eastern Plaguelands at level 57 completing quests, and we had quite a lot to keep us busy. We had to run around and collect 15 worm meat, kill 5 plague hounds, 5 frenzied plague hounds, and 15 plague hound runts, which is quite a lot of mobs and would take a good few hours to complete. I then came across a quest where we have to open a grave and 5 mobs will come and attack us, and I was absolutely not strong enough to kill them normally, so I tried a couple of different ways. I tried running away and seeing if they would drop aggro. I tried the same thing again, but I put a rake on the mob that I needed to kill, but I think they share aggro or something, and that's when I remembered that I own a mage, so I brought her over here and was able to do it no problem. Is there anything that this class can't do apart from having an interesting raid rotation? Afterwards, I decided to do a couple of Stratholme runs before it got too late and everyone went offline. Surprisingly, I did actually get into a group very quickly, although we did end up just going as 4. We started out by doing the Unforgiven, who can drop the Mask of the Unforgiven. Now, ordinarily, this would be an insane piece of gear, but we get to use the Wolfshed Helm, which would actually be BIS for us all of the way through TBC, and it actually did drop as well. We continued to clear our way into the courtyard thing and make our way inside. Things were going pretty well, especially for doing most of it with only 4 people, and that's when we got to the bottom of the stairs and we were clearing out a pack when I DC. Now that's nothing out of the ordinary for me. I disconnect multiple times a day. Well, turns out the entire server got DC'd. Probably some kind of attack if I had to guess. And by the time I got back in, I was dead with no party. Thanks, Blizzard. So again, I had to go looking for another group to run the dungeon with. And we once again start with the Unforgiven, then going into the courtyard area and killing Timmy the Cruel, and then making our way inside. And it wouldn't take long until we were all the way back to where we were before we DC'd. And then we take the next 5 minutes to clear all the way to the end of this long hallway until we get to Cannon Master Willie. Now, he did drop the Shadowcraft Spaulders, and although that would be very good for us, clearly the rogue wanted it, so I ended up just passing it to him. We then once again need to clear through the long spiraling hallways until we reach the final boss, Grand Crusader Dath Rohan, who dropped a mail helm and a plate helm. Now, I actually didn't say goodbye to this group just yet, because we then went for a Stratholme Undead run. Now, I was mainly doing Strat Living just for the XP and quest completion, but the Undead portion of this dungeon would actually have the chance at dropping one of the best cloaks for us, the Cape of the Black Baron, and the rogue promised to pass it to me if we went and cleared the Unforgiven again. So that's what we started with, and sadly, no mask. But we moved back to where we started and began making our way down the undead part of the dungeon. We make it to the first boss, Baroness Anastari. Now, she is actually actually quite a tough one, since she's going to mind control players, and well, all you can do is pray that your party doesn't just clobber you to death. We then clear the next few packs until we get to the next boss, Malachi. Not as interesting as the first, but he did drop a few useless items for us. We then head around the corner to kill Magistrate Barthalas, who one-shot me, but he dropped the key to the city, which I needed on and won, which is just a nice item to have. Now the next part can be a little awkward, since we need to kill each of these belchers one by one. If you do pull more than one, it can get a little bit tricky sometimes. Once we had managed to clear them all up, a big bunch of skeletons come out of this door, which I just left to the mage to handle. After that, we can head inside and start to kill the very last boss of the dungeon, Baron Rivendare. Now he is also quite a tough boss. He makes it so that I cannot stealth whilst inside of the room, and loads of ads spawn to attack us. And our first attempt, we actually did end up wiping, but we respawned and tried again, and this time we were actually successful. And even better, our beautiful cloak did drop, and the rogue stuck to his word and passed on it. So honestly, an extremely good run, since we were almost level 59 and had gotten a pretty rare piece of pre-bis loot. Excited about my new cloak, I returned to the Eastern Plaguelands to quickly do another quest. Simply, we need to run around and find these ghouls and then kill them, and then click on a spirit after it dies to free the spirit. And that's when I remembered that I still had something that I needed to do. Aquatic form. I could have gotten it like 40 levels ago, but for some reason I've put off getting it. So I flew over to Darnassus to pick up the first quest. First we needed to just turn in the quest, which started the first trial. And you know, I've never realised how beautiful Moonglade really is, so it was nice just traversing the zone for a little while. All we needed to do for this trial is swim around the lake until we could locate the bauble container. After we turn in the quest, we start the next trial, which would be a lot more annoying than the first one. We needed to go to Darkshore and then swim like a mile into the ocean to find the first half of a pendant. And that's already quite a long trek, but we aren't done yet, because we now need to go all the way to Westfall and once again swim like a mile into the ocean to retrieve the second half of the pendant. At least this time I don't have to swim back to shore and can just teleport back to Moonglade, where we could turn in the quest and get our beautiful aquatic form. A 2-hour trip. Was it worth it? Well, I'm not sure, since I still haven't found an actual use for it. So with my new aquatic form in hand, I decided to head into the Burning Steppes, where I would list myself for a lower Blackrock Spire run whilst completing a few quests out here. Although I had completed basically every quest here already, there was still a few. I started by doing this medallion quest, simply kill some orcs and collect an item off of them, as well as killing Gortesh and ripping off his head. And well, not long after that, I was able to get myself a group for LBRS, so I dropped what I was doing and began making my way there. Once the party was full, we got stuck straight into it by clearing the orcs on the right side and dropping down. Now, there is a few items from here that would be quite nice to get. Firstly, the Cloud Runner Girdle would be pre-bis for us, but also the gemstones would be a nice pickup, and they obviously allow us to get the key for UBRS. After a good 15 minutes of clearing mobs, we make it to the first boss, High Lord Omok, and he is a pretty simple boss, but he did drop the first gemstone, which I did need on and won, which is nice. We then make it to War Master Voon. Sadly, no gemstone, but he did drop the healer ring, which is a very nice pickup for the healer. We then take down Shadowhunter Vosh with relative ease. Now, unfortunately, when we did jump out of the window, someone ended up pulling all of the mobs behind them, which sadly wiped us. But we respawn and are able to take down Mother Smolderweb no problem. We continue to clear past all of the ogres and bugs until we finally get to Quartermaster Ziggurat, the boss that can drop our much needed belt. Sadly though, he only dropped his footlocker. We then go down the hallway to take down Halcyon, and we get to capture a dog for the quest. I will name him Greg. And after another solid 10 minutes, we finally make it to the last boss of the dungeon, Overlord Wormthalak, who does drop the last gem, and very luckily I do manage to win the role. So at this point we were getting pretty close to level 60, and I wanted another chance at getting my waste piece. So once again I went back into LBRS for another run, and everything was pretty much the same. We went and killed Omok, and then went down to Warmaster Vun, and he did drop the last gemstone that we needed, and we do win it. Which means we now had every single gemstone after only 2 runs, which is kind of insane considering it took me like 25 on my warrior. We once again kill Vosh and fling ourselves out of the window, only this time we didn't pull every mob in existence. We then took down Mother Smolderweb nice and easily, and that's when we started up the ogre boss. Basically, we needed to kill waves and waves of ogres, and turns out it is quite tough actually, and we wiped. And then the healer left. Of course, right before the boss that I needed, we get a selfish player. Well, all I could really do was do another run, and this time we were so close to 60 that I knew this would be the run that would tip me over into level 60. We do Omok, Vun, and Vosh, no problem, and of course Mother Smolderweb. This time though, we skipped over the ogre boss and began clearing our way up to Zigris, and that's when the tank went AFK and never came back, right before the boss that I needed. So at this point I quite literally couldn't be any closer to level 60. I would need just one more dungeon run, and I went with Upper Blackrock Spire for a few different reasons. Firstly, for the True Strike shoulders from the first boss, but also so that I could get attuned for Blackwing Lair. We start out by clearing all of the little rooms in order to progress through the dungeon, and that's when it happened. We finally hit level 60 on my 3rd ever World of Warcraft character. Although as excited as I was, we still had a dungeon to complete. So eventually we make it to the first boss, Pyroguard Emberseer, the boss that can drop the True Strike shoulders. But of course, it didn't drop. We continue clearing through the dungeon until we get to the room with Rend Blackhand inside of it, and we get to sit for 10 minutes and clear waves and waves of mobs until eventually Rend comes out riding on a dragon, which is perfectly normal, I suppose. Once again, we clear through the dungeon and get into the Beast's room, still one of the best bosses in any dungeon in my opinion. And finally was General Dracasath. He is also quite a tough boss, but someone kites Dracasath into the next room whilst we DPS down the adds that are with him. Once those are down, Dracasath comes back in and we can start to DPS him down. Now before we leave the dungeon, we first need to click on this orb at the back of the room and turn in the quests, and that's us now attuned for Blackwing Lair. Now obviously, hitting level 60 opens up a lot of opportunities for us, such as purchasing our first epic mount. And I know I could get to rank 11 and save like 700 gold, but my god, I am never ranking again, because the first time I did it on my warrior, it almost killed me. And honestly, this one looks insanely good, and I'm very happy with my decision. Hope you all enjoyed today's video, because I enjoyed making it, I always do. First thing, I've got to say, thank you all so much for 5,000 subscribers. I mean, we only hit 1,000 a couple months ago, and now we're already at 5,000? I mean, that is crazy. We're going for 10k by the end of the year. So remember, if you're not subbed, hit that sub button and like the video, yada yada. Other thing I've got to say is, sorry for no video last week, because if you saw my post, you saw that Blizzard decided to silence me in game, which means I couldn't really play, and it was just a pain in the ass to record. But basically that was because I was selling my Maraudon boost, and apparently it was in the wrong channel, and it should have been in the services channel. I didn't even know there was a services channel, so it's not really my fault if you don't make it clear that there are multiple channels in the game, but you know, it is what it is. But honestly, I was bored last week. I'm happy to be back making videos, so we should be back to the regular one video every 5 days. Anyway, I think that's enough yapping for now. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all later.